Today on Talk About Your Community, communities aren't what they used to be, and that's a good thing. I'm joined by Marius Ciortea, Chief Community Officer at IBM, to explore how the entire idea of community is shifting as new technologies from platforms to AI redefine what participation, connection, and leadership look like. What happens when the tools we build when the tools we build will change faster than the people we build for? That's the question we'll be digging into today. Kalisa, let's roll the opening. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may happen to be. You've tuned into Talk About Your Community. I'm Todd Nilson, your host with Clocktower Advisors. And on this show, if you're here for the first time, we talk to a variety of experts from the field of community and outside and adjacent to it to get their perspectives on how technology and community are growing together. And today is no exception to that topic. I'm really excited to have on the show with me today, Marius Ciortea. I think I maybe mispronounced his name in the opening, even though he gave it to me. Marius is the Chief Community Officer from IBM and has graciously made it onto the show today, despite some travel snafus. But we're really glad he's here, and we're glad you're here as well. If you've tuned into the live stream, would love to hear from you in the course of the show. And we always take questions and sometimes promote those questions onto the screen in the midst of the event as well. So it is an interactive live stream. And of course, if you tune into this afterwards in the replay, I do check out all the comments and try to respond to everybody. Always value subscribers as we cross stream over to YouTube and to some of the other channels, which I consider my social media exhaust port. In the meantime, I do want to mention to everyone to mark your calendars for the next live stream event that we have, which is with Nasia Kamra. Now, Nasia has been an interview guest on the show before, but not on the live stream. And she's going to be joining us to talk about designing for belonging, rebuilding community in a technology heavy world, which will be a nice companion to the conversation with Marius today. But now, without further ado, I want to welcome onto the screen Marius. Marius, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you, Todd.
Good to see you as well. Thanks again for coming on the show. I always like to ask a few questions about origin stories or how you got into community to begin with. What drew you into the world of community building at the outset?
So, I kind of fell into it, I would say. After running a startup and that not going all that well, I found myself needing to find a job, and I was my early 20s. And the only thing I really knew how to do was code. So there was a job opening at Oracle that my wife signed me up for. And I interviewed and happened to be a web developer for the Oracle Technology Network, which was supporting basically their community. And so I became a web developer in a community team. And then I became a project manager in that team, implemented Jive for the folks that are old enough to remember.
I remember Jive. Yes.
In a time where we were the second customer. Jive was literally like 3 people, and they hired a contractor to help develop the ODBC drivers for Oracle. So I launched Jive from a technical perspective, so project management perspective. And then slowly from there, became more involved with the community. And then at some point led that community. The rest is history after jumping from Oracle to startups to VMware and now IBM.
Wonderful. Yeah. And you've worked with some very large enterprises. I'm very interested to dig into your role, in particular your current role right now, which is the Chief Community Officer of IBM. And for those of you who are interested, we're going to probably put a link up in the top here in post-production that's going to point to the series that we've done on the role of the chief community officer, which is an emergent role in more recent years. And I'm for those who are tuning in and may be familiar with a community manager or community professional, what exactly is a chief community officer supposed to do? What is that role about?
So I have to fully admit, so a self-appointed chief community officer at IBM, and that came for a reason, right? So I was hired into IBM to, and let me start with, so IBM is really, really big, right? So IBM is like 207,000 employees. And when I joined IBM, it was divided into multiple business units, each of the business units with billions of dollars in revenue. But they didn't have really a global community strategy when I was hired in. And I was not actually hired to create a global community strategy. I was hired something that I was in the data and AI business unit, or I think at that time we called analytics business unit. And they wanted to have a community just for their business unit, right? Mm-hmm. And that was where initially I started. But very quickly I went like, well, it doesn't make any sense to see customers as just like data and AI IBM customers. In my mind, they were IBM customers, right? It doesn't matter what products they were using, they were customers of IBM. And I started to see an opportunity to tell that story, right, to every GM that I would meet, and saying like, this is great that I'm doing this over here, but you don't have that, and customers are confused as, you know, this product has a community and this product does not have a community, or has a different community that looks very different than this community, and they have to log in various places, and each one has gamification because we love that. So you have points and badges and whatever you want to have in different ways, and they all look different, they all have different names. Customers are confused, right? Mm-hmm. So in order for me to kind of go up the chain and say, hey, we need to bring this all together, I asked to have this chief community officer role to be taken seriously within IBM and have the authority of saying, no, you cannot have your own community and your own little silo and your own way of creating the experience that you think is fit. We are one company, we're under one brand, and we need to build this together. So really the first 4 years or so that I was at IBM was really spent of like consolidating those probably hundreds of communities and hundreds of user groups into one strategy. And that is really what at IBM, the chief community officer role entails, was really much creating this one strategy across IBM and consolidating all the communities into one community, and also then creating best practices on how to engage with it. And that I think is probably still my biggest achievement at IBM, is from going to many different communities to one.
A huge effort. I cannot imagine that any large organization that has had sort of a organically grown series of fragmented communities, and bringing that together into one consolidated vision, and maybe eliminating extraneous platforms to the extent possible.
Exactly.
I mean, there's
migrations, all those kind of things come apart. But you know, and before we got here, we talked about a little bit the ROI story, right, on how do you sell this to executives. And this doesn't work because not all companies are the size of IBM, but particularly at IBM, it's pretty simple to show like, hey, you have 10 platforms. Look at what you're paying. If we go to one, here's what we're paying. You have 10 communities, look at the employees that map against it, right? If we go to one, here's what actually the org chart would look like for one community. So there's tremendous savings in having a unified strategy. And that was initially one of my main ROIs within the company, is showing the savings the company has by doing this. In addition, of course, of the other stuff, right? Of course, better voice and better brand and unified brand and all the other things are beneficial as well. But, you know, executives' eyes light up when you tell them what they can save by doing this.
Yeah. But then of course, like when you've gotten past that savings question, we've peeled off these extra platforms, yes. We've consolidated the effort. Like then ROI becomes something different. It evolves again, right?
Yes, then it evolves again.
So what does leadership care about today as you're kind of sharing success stories from the community?
So again, evolutionary. Everything is evolutionary, and there's an iteration every a couple of years. After the ROI sort of getting everything into one, the next thing that I focused on was driving actual revenue impact for IBM that they can actually look at. And I always believe that community is a unique database that's, I mean, sounds kind of very harsh to look at that, but it's a database of customer information. And how do you monetize that, right? How do you take advantage in the right way without hurting the community members? But how do you monetize it to show ROI? And what I did, or for me, that strategy was events. And I built up a robust webinar and event, virtual event platform, so to speak, where we currently run roughly 400 webinars a year, partnering tightly with the product management and product marketing teams. And then we do quarterly, what I used to be the community day virtual days. Now they are like the dev days, closely related, which are virtual large events. And both of these were anchored in community, right? So they are not marketing driven, but they are anchored in what the customers actually, our user base wants to hear about, the topics they want to hear about, more technical, more down to earth, less like forward selling, more about like how do they use the products today, which still has a lot of value. But we are now tracking against it, right? And through that, I am able to show, almost like, I think it's like 2 billion or something in demand gen or something by now, and hundreds of million in win revenue. So it's a clear revenue or tie into business outcomes. So that was my initial thing. And now the last thing where I'm currently at is the last iteration. I'm actually now part of a sales organization, which is kind of new for a community team to be in a sales team. But it is a unique, again, position for IBM. My GM, actually, his organization is called the Technical Community, IBM's Technical Community. So he has created a strategy where the tech sellers and customer sales folks, the people that actually build stuff, are connected through communities and drive value, right? So for him, he's built sort of a flywheel as like somebody buys the product, they're now joining a community, they're active in the community, they stay active in the community. And then that turns into conversations with technical experts within IBM, which then drives to new projects and new community members, and it's sort of like a whole flywheel that we now have going. So it kind of makes sense where I'm fitting in the vision that the GM, our GM, Il Steinberg, if you guys want to look him on LinkedIn, he has great newsletters you should follow. We fit right in. So it's unique in the industry, I would say, but it's pretty cool.
It's an endlessly fascinating question to me, just how
Yeah.
ROI evolves for organizations and how they think about defining it, and the creative ways that I hear about many community leaders, finding to engage with the various stakeholders, in the organization.
Yeah, and you have to adapt, of course, right? But it's really exciting to be in an organization where, from the very top, the community plays a critical role in the flywheel that he is building out. And it's his community, it's user groups, right? He fully understands the value of a user group, which are part of the communities. And then, of course, advocacy, which are the IBM champions on our end, and how they fit in that ecosystem. And it's pretty cool to have that vision. So that's a unique point of view, and I'm super excited I'm part of that point of view, and allowing me to continue building out the community at IBM.
Really wonderful. I'll just observe that, from the other interviews I've had with head of community roles or director of community or chief community officer, kinds of roles, it always seems to be an evolutionary step in a career. Like it's something that grows up within a company. It's almost an intrapreneurial effort. It's not that organizations say at the outset, I'm maybe seeing that more on the startup side, but like on established enterprises, they don't generally say we're hiring a new chief community officer. at this point.
Right.
Like it's a role that develops because of the unique talents and capabilities of the person in the organization and the things
Right.
that they're doing.
An ability to like for the person then to kind of move the needle in whatever the whatever the company's strategy may be. I think that what I find like successful community leaders have versus just community managers is truly understanding the company's objectives and understanding how to tie the community into those objectives. The ones I see failing most often is the one that stick to a belief of what community should be and trying to force the community point of view into that strategy. I think it creates a lot of friction, and I see those people usually leave those jobs. That's nothing against those folks, because I love the true community believers, but it creates a lot of friction if you sticking to your guns only and do not see what you need to do for business outcomes.
It's almost a sort of unrealistic idealism, which
Yes.
I love that, but
Yeah, me too, right? Because
but
that's where I'm from. But I leave that to the community managers. That's
yeah,
how I go. Like, I want them
yes.
to be the idealist and fight for the users all day long and do this great engagement of community. The community leaders, I think, need to understand what the company's really is trying to achieve and how does community fit into that plan.
It's such a core skill, that unrelenting need to connect the community to value for
Yes.
the organization. I really
Yeah.
really love that. That's a great note. Just out of curiosity, what do you have, like a team of direct reports? Like what does that look like for you as a leader?
Yes. So, and my leader role also has evolved, I have to say.
Sure.
I now run all the digital engagement for TechXchange, which there's also a TechXchange event that you guys can check out. I think the link will be provided
Yeah.
later. So my team, yeah, it's roughly like 30-ish people, of which about a little bit over a third are dedicated to community and the community platform. So it's I have like developers that kind of go across both things, but I have 6 dedicated community. I have a community leader actually as well. Sorry, a head of community that helps me kind of run the 6 community managers that are focused across IBM. But there's more than goes into this. It sounds like always like when it's like smart, you have to build like a larger team here. It's not just the 6. Each of the different units and products have champions, right, that are looking after the community, and that group is like around 40 or 50 within IBM that those 6 basically have relationships with, and that is really where the credit goes in connecting with the end customers. So there are technical sellers, there's product marketeers, product management is involved. They all sort of played a role, and the community manager's role is to be a facilitator between those 2 camps. So one is like, yes, being in a community and help the community members solve whatever issues may have and make them successful. But the other side is really more like, how do you get internal advocates for the community and have them engaged? Because that's where a lot of the content comes, the blogging, the SMEs coming into the community and answering things, ideas that of like, how can you engage the community, like webinars or custom events, and going to them and selling that value to those individual product groups is really what sustains the engagement in the community. So I called my team the connectors. That is my internal name for them, because their job really is to connect people.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. If you're just tuning in, we are talking to Marius Ciortea, the Chief Community Officer from IBM, talking about the evolution of technology and the role of the Chief Community Officer in the enterprise. And we love to have questions and comments in the chat. If you have any, for Marius, please do not be shy. Quick shout out to Donnie and Constantine, who have already said hello on the chat. Great to see you both. Thank you for joining the stream. Just to maybe switch gears a little bit, I think we said in the teaser for the event here, we wanted to talk a little bit about communities in a time of tech disruption. It seems to be a perpetual state we live in these days. You mentioned wanting to explore how disruptive technologies are changing communities.
Mhm.
Would you care to maybe unpack that a little bit and talk about the evolution of communities from your vantage point?
Sure. First, just want to say hi to Constantine because he's my kid. So that's why I'm
Very
here in
good.
Philadelphia today. I'm hearing his name. So, hi, Constantine. I don't know what you're doing here, but hopefully, you old man entertains you. Um, okay. So, around technology. So, yeah. So, technology is ever evolving. The AI space, I think, will change everything, and a community is going to be just one of the many, 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 many places. AI significantly will change how we engage with programs like community programs. At the core, I always looked at community to be two things, and it's around knowledge, right? So there's one side is knowledge contribution, and the other one is knowledge extraction, right? And in very traditional community management, both of them are the humans, right? Humans come in and they contribute content, and they themselves are the knowledge, or the content they contribute are the knowledge. And on the other end, people are wanting to extract the knowledge, and you usually do it by asking another human or asking a question in the community, and then the right person will give you the right answer. So now you actually have this exchange of knowledge, and with every answer, the knowledge grows again, and it's how I think communities work. Technology always played a role, and the first thing when technology came in was just basic search, right?
Mhm.
So one way of extracting knowledge was you go in a community, you search on the topics, and you get like search results, and there you go. You now have extracted a little bit of the knowledge and the value of the community. The most logical phase when AI came around is to really focus on the extraction part of knowledge. How can AI help us give a better search results that take advantage of some communities have millions of threads in there, look
Mhm.
through it and really give good answers, not just search result answers, right? And that's generative AI. And we built that in our community already. We're using Watson X and IBM Granite, which I'm lucky to have IBM, which is heavy in the community space. So you guys can log in the community and check it out today. So I thought that is the first thing where we're going to see agents pop up everywhere. And
Mhm.
it's a little scary for community managers because if you are just asking an AI to give you an answer, then you certainly are breaking up the relationship that between humans, right? And what makes community so great, because it's a human answering things. Like, why do you need a community when AI answers you stuff? Do we need community at all?
Mhm.
And my answer to that is that yes, you still do need humans, but the interactions will evolve, right? And it's going to be different type of agents that are specialized in different things. So while the first agents will be all about extracting knowledge, the next gen of agents will be how do these agents actually help connecting people back to this connector idea, right? So they will be able to sort of like identify, and this, by the way, this is not just me talking, this is stuff that we're actively working on, trying to figure out how this actually works. But how do you get somebody who's asking a question, connecting them directly with the person that actually knows the answer, even if that person may not be online? And that is the key thing, right? Because
So,
you would not know that your answer is the right answer if somebody will not actually tap on your shoulder. And how do you scale that to hundreds of thousands of SMEs in communities? That's sort of what I'm thinking about, right? Because that
yeah.
is like, it's still this transfer of knowledge, right? So you're still finding a person has a question and you need another person with that knowledge providing that answer. But how do we facilitate that better than we could today and scale it to communities that are large, like, the 500,000, 2 million and larger communities?
Yeah. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around how that works because this is
Yeah.
fascinating. I've often thought about it. I've had conversations with colleagues like Adrian Spare, formerly of Higher Logic, around these kinds of interactions, like where the AI becomes a concierge, where
Mhm.
you're asking questions of it, but it's not necessarily giving you answers. It's maybe directing you towards an expert to get the answer. Is that?
It's directing, but it's actually introducing, starting a conversation. And speaking of Higher Logic, by the way, one of the CEO of Higher Logic, Rob Wagner, is one of the folks that sometimes picks up the phone and calls me, and we just have fun, like chatting about those kind of things. Like, if you want to bring somebody to talk about this on your show, happy to make the intro. And he would be fascinating for you to talk to, because he is like that CEO/geek that
Yep.
loves this stuff and
Rob's a great guy.
codes
Yeah.
everything. So it's always a great guy. So
Yep.
yeah, so it goes beyond, because if you think what AI agents are doing today to disrupt the sales teams, right? They are now getting to the point where an AI is having a conversation with a customer, and they can start getting the initial questions answered that usually you would need a human with. Just basic stuff like, what is your project about? How can we help you?
Mhm.
What are your areas that you need help with? Just basic conversations is all sort of like starting. You just translate that into not only connecting, but saying like, hey, here's somebody who's has a question, right? Here's why I think you are the right person to answer it, and you can give a summary of that person's persona. And then the next thing is like, how would you answer that question? And you can make it even super simple. Just talk to me, right? There's like a button that says like speech and give the answer. The AI can just take that like 30 seconds answer and rephrase it like we all do in ChatGPT, like help me write this email, right? We just
Mhm.
quickly say something and then poof, an email comes out, um, and goes back to the community and posts that as an answer. Now, is it like truly again like a human to human? Maybe not, but it's an evolution of it, because the thoughts were still coming from the SME. We saved the SME a ton of time, because the SME didn't have to go back to the community, didn't have to like log in, find the post, open the web browser. So it's a much quicker interactions. And I think that that's going to sort of like win, because we are moving to a place where we have to work faster and faster, less and less time to do anything but being super efficient. And if we can somehow make that SME being efficient in this process, or it's worth his time, then again, the knowledge comes back in the community. We are doing our job to increasing the knowledge in the community, which makes the community more valuable, and everything gets preserved. Because it's always the key is like, how do we continuously keep the community valuable for everybody involved in the community, and grow that value? So that is the North Star, and it's like the how is what I'm thinking about now. And I think that AI will help us create more value in the community, and increase the value in the community exponentially, which then should work out for all us community managers, because we are the stewards of it.
I love that. So decreased time to getting answers,
Yeah.
decreased friction,
Yes.
finding the right information, increased reputation for the thought leaders or experts who are contributing their time and knowledge to the community. Those things all sound like wins.
Yeah.
The
And think about this one thing, just following on what you're saying. What if it's not just one person? What if the AI can actually ask this question from three experts, and
Mhm.
three of them give the answer, and then the AI actually consolidates the three answers into one? Is it now a better answer?
That's amazing. Yeah. Then it becomes something like deep research with informed expertise, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's we would never be able to do that without AI. Are we there yet? I don't know for sure. But is the technology there yet? Probably is. It just needs to be coded and done.
Yeah. You said that within IBM's community itself, and maybe Kalisa can share the link to the community, in here, that you're already piloting some of these kinds of efforts using Watson.
Yes. So yeah. So we are piloting. So well, one, the regular search is already existing. So the search agent. So if you guys go to community and you log in, we have it up behind login, simply to because it's still in testing ground, so it takes some time when you're doing some searches there. But that exists today, and it actually does two things that are really cool. One, it searches all the knowledge within a community. It gives you the answer, but it also gives you the sources for the answer, right? Like a Perplexity would do. So it's not just here's the answer, but here's the blog post that this was discussed in, here's the threads that is discussing, so you can validate the answer. The second thing that we implemented, and this was actually an idea by Rob, because we work together with Higher Logic. Higher Logic in this case is the customer of IBM. So Higher Logic provides the platform for us. I'm a Higher Logic customer. Just want to be open about that. But Higher Logic also is a customer of IBM, leveraging the Watson technology stack. What he has implemented it says ask a human, right? So if the answer is not good, you press and you start a thread right away with your original question that you had, and with a link to the to the AI ask and say, this was not good enough, what you guys think, right? So it's like another kind of way how we bring humans back in. So that is existing. And now that we are having sort of the database and everything hooked up, now we're starting to look at, also me and Rob are thinking at IBM, what are the other use cases? So we're playing around with it. It is not quite so simple to like understand. It's one thing to understand written knowledge. It's another thing for the AI to understand who the experts are in the community. That's the where we are trying to go next. Like, how do you truly know that you, Todd Nilson, are like an expert in community strategy? Maybe it's enough that you have like this podcast, but maybe it's not. I don't know. So creating those rules is tricky, but I'm pretty sure within a year or two this will be done.
Have it figured out. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and I think you answered one of my other questions, which is how do you maintain trust and a human element, in
Yeah.
communities where there's these, AI tools that are kind of opaque, and you're maybe not sure like where they're working, where a human is coming in, and
Yeah.
just.
So there are two things for the answer. One, I do hear this when I speak at events. There's always one person in the audience that will stand up and say like, the community is not authentic anymore when an AI gives the answer. And there's a lot of truth to that. And I believe that there will be some communities out there that will actually go exactly the opposite of what I just said and say, no AI shall be in this community whatsoever, because we are going to stick to pure human thought. There's something to it. On the other hand, things evolve and move forward. There was a time, I'm sure, where people would say, I will not use a credit card because it's sharing all my personal information to everybody. I'm swiping this.
Yep.
And now nobody even think about it anymore, right? It's like, oh, it's a credit card. What's the big deal? So it is something people will get comfortable with. And as things progress, AI will be just more convenient, and convenience always wins out over the other side. So that's what I kind of think. And then, of course, there is, companies do try their best. IBM has Watson Governance as a tool, where we are validating where the content came from, authenticity, does it come by a human? So we are thinking a lot about that. I think I would trust companies like IBM, but I'm sure that there will be opportunity for other companies out there to abuse some of those things, and for people to pretend to be humans when they are not. We already seen this in social media, right? I mean, how many bots do exist on social media platforms that is very similar to like the authenticity equation in the community? So it's going to be always a little bit of a battle. You're never going to fully win it, but I think there are going to be a lot of people that's going to try to keep it at bay. And somewhere in the middle is the right approach.
Yeah. Yeah. As usual, we end up someplace in the middle with all these questions.
Yeah.
So my question is about then how does the role of a community manager evolve in this world where AI is taking on that
Yeah.
increasing role of facilitating conversations between experts and those who have questions, and
Yep.
synthesizing some of that knowledge? That's a role that, like, I think a lot of community managers like enjoy playing, but they can't do it at scale, maybe.
Correct. So it's going to be, I would say it's going to be community AI by your side, right? So it's going to be a new skill that community managers just going to have to learn. One of the basic stuff will be to QA the AI's work, right? And fine tune. So meaning, I think I rely still on community managers to do searches in our AI on a daily basis and seeing that the search results actually make sense. They need to maintain a certain level of expertise to know that when you answer this product question or we have a new product introduced, like, does it actually make sense, right? So those are the very basics. The other things that will help them facilitate faster is like if you then maybe we're not going to have a bot kind of find the expert, but it's going to be a community manager that knows those are the 5 experts, and they're the one who unleash the AI agents to get the answers and send to those 5 people. That is a easy way of scaling. So you don't have to do 5 individual emails anymore. You just press a button says AI agent, go after those 6 individuals, 5 individuals, and get the answers. And another really basic one is just regular writing skills. I need to do a newsletter to a specific subgroup in my community about a product launch. Well, here's the press release AI. Please find me everybody that's interested in topic X, has interacted with topic X in the last year, also interacted in these other 5 products, create a list, summarize the press release, and send an email. If I can just do that as a community manager, imagine the scale they can get out of this. And I know this is also something we actively work on. It's just very basic stuff. Just summarize a press release, make it relevant for the user.
Mm-hmm. I'm reminded, I've been watching some videos recently from Jeremy Utley, who wrote Idea Flow, just talking about just adoption and interaction with AI-based tools, and that need to socialize organizations and employees to the idea of applying these tools and using them as a partner, not as a tool, but almost treating it as a teammate that is helping you to do your job better.
Yeah.
And
there's another example of something that I would need, and I'm asking for people to build metrics. Who does not like metrics in the community? It takes forever. Like I have to wait every month. A metrics report, somebody's written by somebody, and I'm gonna get all the cool things that are in there. Why can I not just say like, hey, last week who was most engaged member in the community around the topic data?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Like that seems to be a super simple thing to ask, but today it would be like a 24 or 48-hour turnaround and a bunch of people running around and trying to figure out how to actually figure this out. An AI should be like 10 seconds, and then I should have that answer. So that's another example, I think, where community managers will be able to leverage this, because again, it's like, how do you extract that knowledge that's in there? I want to put a roundtable together for my product managers around this particular feature in this product. Tell me who has questions and answers in the community around this, and then 5 people pop up. Now I contact those 5 people and get them in front of product managers, and the product managers can do a feedback session with people that are knowledgeable in the community around that product. How powerful would that be?
That's incredible. Yeah, yeah. Just even the idea of being able to ask natural language questions about
Right?
what's happening in the community
In real time.
yeah, yeah.
It's again, yeah, it's because the value, again, it's like, how do we extract the value? Value is there. It's extracting that value that is always the most difficult part. And I think AI is going to help us do that better, and it's going to help the community managers be more successful because they have access to that value.
Well, and rather than chasing down rote data or sinking all of that time into the minutia of the work, it lets you elevate your work so that you can be more nuanced in your
That's
approach.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then again, it goes back to like, how do you do this personal connections? Once I know those 5 people that are experts in that product, maybe they are part of my advocacy program now. Right. And now I start building connections. So it doesn't change. It's still all about people and the connections. It's just AI is going to help us to be more precise, faster, Yeah, relationships are still key. This is just an evolution, I think, of community. But initially, it's going to be two camps. There will be a camp that is going to be purist, no AI whatsoever. There are going to be some that are going to go all the way to the top, where it's going to be replacing AI managers, and I think they will fail. Sorry, the community managers, AI will that will fail too. And once the extremes fail, we're going to be back to the middle of like, okay, how do we leverage this in the right way?
That's really great. So I'm going to ask you an imaginal question here. So obviously there's no right answer to this, but you've already been talking in sort of future terms and sort of direction we're heading. But if you had to cast your thinking ahead to maybe 2030, 5 years out from now,
Oh, yeah, who can? Yeah,
how,
sure.
how would you ideally see, like, what would be a positive outcome scenario for how communities are going to evolve as a result of some of these things? What's that end
Yeah.
game going to look like, along the lines of what you've been talking about so far?
So I believe in 5 years from now, the biggest value for, and I'm going to speak for enterprise companies. I don't, I mean, 'cause, I always speak from my point of view, and that's the space I know.
Mhm.
B2C is not a place I'm usually in, so that doesn't cover that. But in the B2B world and communities, I think that there will be multiple agents doing multiple things, and agents will talk to agents, right? So it's going to be like this multi-agent environments at the enterprise level. And community will be one of those agents. And I
Mhm.
think that the value extraction that I'm talking about that happens from the community will be integrated in other aspects of the enterprise because of this agent to agents conversations. So examples, support, which we've always been a part of. It's always been a struggle. Is the community the support center, or support the right center, and how does community play in? That will be probably now solved, because when you're going to ask a support question, the support agent will go to various other agents within the company, like documentation agent, the support database area of the agent, and then the community agent, and going to give a much better answer now to the customer that is combination of those other value vaults within the company. So it is those interaction that will start unlocking things. On the sales side, it's going to be a lot of the CRM data will be augmented with interactions that are happening already in the community, but with context. So right now there are some communities that have CRM interactions, and they pull in like, this customer has this conversation, but they are not taking in the, what are the conversation about, what's the context, what's the person really know, where is he in the organization. Again, this is going to be sort of the multi-agent world that they will be able to figure this out between the agents of like what exactly the value of that customer is and where community adds value. And it's going to be a standard in all CRMs going forward. And that's where Agentforce comes into, right? I mean, that's sort of what they're building at Salesforce. So 5 years from now, I think that the enterprise will be dominated by agents. And I think that one of the more valuable agents in the enterprise will be now community, because we finally can now expose that value in other parts of the business.
I am looking forward to that day. I think that sounds amazing.
Yeah. And then we keep our job, right? And we communities are awesome, because people will be looking at this. And by the way, one of the other things, my last evolution that I'm doing now at IBM, and this has been done probably other companies before, but I'm excited about it. I'm now actively working to have community inside products, right? So the users don't have to go actually to the community, but the community is in the product they're using day to day. So this federated community idea, and first phase is without AI, but again, future, when you're using the product, you're in the product, you're having a question about a feature or a use case, it's going to pull in the community knowledge.
Love it. Love it. Marius, our time has just flown by here. This has been extremely interesting conversation. I loved your insights that you've had so far. I'm wondering if I can give you a couple of lightning round short answer questions,
Sure, let's
just
try.
to get a hot take on some things. Um, Online communities for enterprise, bull or bear market?
I think short term, maybe bear, long term bull. The reason I say short term bear is because these agents will like dominate the conversation, and people will go, oh, we just need agents. We don't need communities. But then pretty quickly it's like, but the agents are done without community, and that's where the bull is going to come in.
Love it. Love it. Next question. One community buzzword you'd love to retire.
Sentiment.
What is it?
Sentiment analysis. Sentiment.
Yes.
I don't know. I just cringe every time when they trying to tell me what sentiment is around some product, and the community somehow has that magic sentiment. I don't know. That's my personal problem.
Favorite AI-based tool that you are enjoying working with right now?
Claude. By Anthropic. Yeah, it's definitely my favorite. They do just amazing kind of like, yeah, I know, it's a favorite. ChatGPT is I watch both, obviously.
Wonderful, wonderful. Marius, again, this has been a lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Had a definitely a lot of great insights from the conversation today, and would love to have you back on the show anytime you want to talk about something that's going on with IBM.
Absolutely, yeah. Let me suggest one. Me and Rob. I'm telling you that it will be fun.
We'll bring you both back on the show. That'd be terrific. Yeah, let's do that. We'll set that up maybe sometime after your event in October.
Yes, yeah, I think we'll bring that back up. So October 6th, October 9th, TechXchange 2025 is going to be happening in October. And we do have a community day planned. And I have managed to convince my leadership to give that day actually at no cost. So it is free to attend. So everybody in the Orlando area, please book your date, or set in your calendar, October 9th to the 9th, and you can come to our community day. It's going to be very focused on open source, and we're going to bring some of the open source communities in there. But we also will be talking about how to grow those communities, how to participate in those communities. So it should be super exciting.
Fantastic, fantastic. Marius, thank you again for being on the show. For those of you who tuned in and stuck with us for the hour, thank you for being along with us on the ride. I will ask again, if you are not already, please follow Clocktower Advisors on LinkedIn for all event updates. We do this show every other week on Fridays at 10 a.m. U.S. Central Time. And of course, we have a YouTube channel for Clocktower Advisors as well, where you can find our entire back catalog of 60 plus interviews of community experts that is ever growing. And Marius is going to be a great addition to that catalog of expert ideas, advice, inspiration. I'll leave you with this. How is your organization preparing for the next wave of community disruption? Please drop your thoughts into the comments, either below the YouTube or the LinkedIn. Would love to hear more from you about that. And in the meantime, please take time for yourself, get away from the screen for the weekend, and hopefully relax a little bit, do some gardening outside, breathe in the fresh air, and realize that the world is actually a pretty decent place after all. We'll see you in 2 weeks for Nasia's meeting on rebuilding communities, designing for belonging. And until then, keep building great communities. We'll see you guys later.